The solution is to make it easier for them to get their H-1B visas. Currently, the immigration system in America is very broken.
थानेदार साहब, आपकी भी जो फाइट है वो एक पहले फाइट हुई, फिर फाइट बैक हुई, फिर फाइट बैक से क्राइसिस हुआ, फिर दोबारा आप ऊपर पहुंचे। तो वो क्राइसिस ने जो आपको नीचे गिरा दिया, बड़ा नीचे गिरा दिया, मैं सुनना चाहता हूँ वो कैसे हुई।
I had a Rolls Royce Phantom, I had a Ferrari, सब कार ले लिया। I had a mansion that was like 16,000 square feet. The bank took that. I agreed to sell it, and then the market crashed.
Oh,
so if you
this
remember,
was the year when Lehman Brothers
हाँ
happened.
जी, तो बैंक इम्पेशेंट हो गई, वो लोग आए, उन्होंने मेरी कंपनी पूरी ले ली।
Today I'm joined by someone who has brought laurels and also won plaudits from the Indian community for having been elected as a 5th congressman in the last elections in the United States. It's none other than Shri Thanedar here in Detroit.
खूप काही चांगली शिकवण दिली, जे व्हॅल्यू सिस्टीम्स दिल्या माझ्या आईनं मला, त्या आतापर्यंत पुरल्यात माझ्या आयुष्यामध्ये.
What way do you think the key challenges and issues that are faced by the Hindu American community? And
I have lately seen a lot of attacks on Hinduism. In the 250-year history of United States, never been there a Hindu Caucus.
are they actually going to give you unequivocal, unwavering and steadfast support?
There will be a few members of Congress that will not support me, and they will continue this Hinduphobia.
What would the key elements of this formula be like?
The key element is never to give up.
It's actually a sultry weather in Detroit on July 4th as we celebrate America's Independence Day. And I am on this particular significant day, I'm joined by someone who has brought laurels and also won plaudits from the Indian community for having been elected as a 5th congressman in the last elections in the United States. He's also someone who started his career as a young 20-year-old something as a chemical engineer, but went on to join the politics about 2.5 years, 3 years back, but has won enormous praises for what he has done to his own country back home and also to the United States. It's none other than Shri Thanedar here in Detroit, just outside his home. Welcome to the show, Mr. Thanedar. What an incredible career that you have had. Many congratulations to you for what you have done to this country and what you have done back home from a small town, a small village in Belgaum, having been elected here 3.5 years ago. What does this sense of gratification mean to you and this election mean to you today as we look at another election from here on?
Well, this is very exciting, and welcome to my home, Rohanji. Look, I came here as a student. I was 24 years old, living in poverty in India, and I came here primarily so I can help my family pull out of the financial struggles that they were having.
Right.
And I got my education here in America. I ran small businesses, and finally decided that I want to go serve the American people because I have gotten so much. I came here with nothing.
Right.
This country has given me so much, and now this is my chance to serve the people of America.
Right. Because I mean the fact that you had such a remarkable journey as a chemical engineer and an entrepreneur to becoming a member of the US House of Representatives. If we could still distill your diverse experiences into a scientific formula, what would the key elements of this formula be like?
The key element is never to give up. No matter how hard things get, not give up, keep moving forward. Have your goals all set and then work hard.
तो अगर मैं कहूँ कि आपको दिक्कतें भी आई उस दशक में जब आप बेलगाम से आए क्योंकि आप मराठी भी बोलते हैं, मुझे लगता है
हाँ जी।
हिंदी भी बड़ी खूबसूरत बोलते हैं, आप अंग्रेज़ी तो अब आप यहाँ पे सीख ही गए। तो कौन सी ऐसी भाषा है जो अभी भी आपके दिल के करीब छू गई है इन तीनों में से, जो आपको लगता है कि आप कभी नहीं छोड़ेंगे?
देखिए, मेरी माँ जो भाषा बोलती थी वो है मराठी।
हुँ,
तो मराठी में ही मुझे मेरी माँ को एक ही भाषा आती थी, वो है मराठी।
ठीक
तो
है।
माँ की जो याद है वो सब मराठी में है। वो सब बातचीत जो होती थी मेरे माँ से, वो मराठी में है। तो मराठी मुझे सबसे प्यारी भाषा
क्या
है।
बात है! तो मराठी में कौन-सा सेंटेंस हमें सुनाएँगे आप, जो आपके दिल के बड़े करीब है, जो आप बात भी करते थे माँ से और सुनने में मज़ा भी आता था उन दिनों? कैसी ऐसी वो बात होती थी मराठी में? कौन-सा ऐसा वाक्य है जो आप यूज़ किया करते थे बात करते समय?
हे जे काही मी श्रेय मिळवलंय, त्याचं सगळं श्रेय जे आहे ते माझ्या आईकडे जातं. कारण माझी आई फार मोठी आणि तिनं मला खूप काही चांगली शिकवण दिली. जे व्हॅल्यू सिस्टम्स दिल्या माझ्या आईनं मला, त्या आतापर्यंत पुरल्यात माझ्या आयुष्यामध्ये.
What does this mean?
It means that the value system that my mother gave me has lasted me for all my lifetime.
Hmm,
Even in hard financial time, my mother stood strong and raised us with good value system.
amazing. Um, Throughout your campaign for the elections in 2019, I remember your tagline, your punchline was "Science is on the ballot." When you said science is on the ballot, that resonated with the voters here, because science is the backbone of the United States. The reason it is a superpower is because of its science and tech. Can you explain why you believe that science should play such a pivotal role in our political decision making? And if we were to conduct, let's say, a political experiment, what hypothesis would you test?
Well, a lot of times, politics is done with emotions. But we need to really focus on the facts and the data and the truth. Truth matters, data matters, science matters. And we've seen that in COVID. A lot of the COVID decisions were based on emotions and feelings rather than science.
Such as?
And in terms of when should we close the country, when should we close schools,
Right.
a lot of that everything needed to be done on a scientific basis. Everything needed to be done with a view about saving lives.
Right.
Whatever policies are best to save lives is what
Right.
the policies we should follow.
Right.
Sometimes politics got into decisions that should have been made based on science.
Correct. So, did you also sort of contribute to the COVID's problem tackling here in the United States in 20 and 21?
Yes, because at that time I was a MLA or a state rep in
Correct.
the Michigan state representatives.
Right.
So I worked at the state level in terms of making sure that people in Detroit area got adequate supplies. They got the medication, they got the help that they needed.
Right.
Because in the city of Detroit, which is a part of my constituency, my district, there is a lot of poverty. There is a lot of racism in Detroit, a lot of poverty, and people in Detroit got much more severely affected by COVID than other parts of America.
Right. I would also want to move on to the very important question next, which sort of I believe that you have taken a very strong stand. As someone who's of Indian origin, you have taken a very strong stand in bringing the bill on for the PhD students as well, and that has evoked very strong reactions. How do you look at that sort of an achievement for yourself, and what impact do you think it will have in the country?
Well, America needs highly skilled engineers, scientists. Many of those scientists do come from India. I have spoken with CEOs of major technology companies like Google and Microsoft and Intel, and what they have told me is that they cannot grow businesses, they cannot be more innovative without these scientists,
Okay.
and that they need this scientific talent.
So what's the formula or the panacea to solution to this?
The solution is to make it easier for them to get their H-1B visas.
Right.
to get their green cards. Currently, the immigration system in America is very broken.
Correct.
And that needs to be fixed. And one of my bill will allow PhD scientists to be able to get their green card without having to go through that queue and line
Right.
and the long quota. The
Right.
quotas will not apply to PhDs.
So how soon do you think that can be implemented then, and the House can actually discuss this?
It depends on how soon that bill gets passed. It has to go through the
Correct.
committee hearings. Both houses have to pass, the
Right.
Senate and the Congress, and the president have to sign before that
of
will
course.
happen.
Right. Now, the fact today is that you today are also not just a prominent Indian here, but also a prominent figure of the Hindu Hindu Americans. Especially, you know, the fact is that when you led the Hindu American Summit in Capitol Hill, led by, of course, the American for Hindus earlier in June this year, you were one of the votaries of protecting their rights. Can you share your experience in organizing and attending the Hindu American Summit at Capitol Hill? What were the highlights, personal takeaways for you from there?
Look, I believe in religious freedom. Every person should be able to worship the God or religion that he or she wants to practice. And I have lately seen a lot of attacks on Hinduism, very unfounded, quite unnecessary, but a lot of attacks on Hinduism.
Unprovoked.
Unprovoked, and there is no place for that hate. No person should be hated because of
Where did these attacks, Mr. Thanedar, take place?
all over the place. So we have seen some in California. We have seen all other places as well. We have seen that happening ever since 9/11. The Sikhs have been attacked. The Hindus have been attacked.
That disturbed you?
That disturbed me, and I asked her when I first came to Congress only 6 months ago, is there a Hindu caucus in the United States Congress? And I was told that there is none. In the 250-year history of United States, never been there a Hindu caucus. So I took upon myself with some friends from California and other places to form a Hindu caucus. And I'm so proud to have formed the Hindu caucus. It's a Hindu, Sikh, and Buddhist caucus
Right.
that I was able to form in the United States Congress.
Amazing. Now, how do you actually feel about the support and the backing from the congressional leaders and the political advocacy groups for the Hindu community during this summit? Because that's your initiative and also disparate groups. But do you think that your own party leaders, some of them, I don't want to name them, but if you think, are they actually going to give you unequivocal, unwavering, and steadfast support in this initiative?
Well, there will be a few members of Congress that will not support me, and they will continue this Hinduphobia. But most large majority of Congress members, I expect to support. I have invited both the Democrats and Republican Congress members to become part of this Hindu caucus.
You think that you can also get support from someone like Pramila Jayapal or Rokhanna as well?
Well, it all remains to be seen. I have invited every member of Congress.
But they have not yet responded?
People will respond. We've just started this, but I expect that there will be a large support.
Correct.
Not only from Indian Americans, but also from American lawmakers.
Right. Now, since you talked about untoward incidents happening in the United States, I want to ask you a very particular question, which is as follows: that in the light of the recent incidents targeted individuals of Asian descent, what steps you particularly think should be taken to combat discrimination and promote inclusivity for everyone? And are there any specific policies or legislation that you want to think of which should be tabled here?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, my district, which is part of Detroit, is part of it.
Right.
78% of city of Detroit is African American.
Right.
And African Americans have suffered perhaps the most in terms of racial discrimination, a systemic discrimination. And one of the reasons why I decided to run for public office is to protect African American community against racism, protect African American communities with their economic betterment. And because they have been historically and systemically discriminated, I don't think any race should have to experience discrimination and hate, and I will fight against that, and I'll ensure that United States laws are adequate to punish any kind of a hate crime, any kind of racial discrimination.
So what would those laws look like as far as the Constitution is concerned? Are you going to bring more severe laws, or the old laws, the archaic laws, are going to be amended?
Well, we have the laws currently on the books that do have provisions for this, but we'll not only continue to make those laws stronger
Right.
and more enforceable, and introduce new laws to ensure that the freedom. America really values its freedom. Today is 4th of July. America values its freedom. America values its individual liberty, justice, and I will always be, as a U.S. Congressman, fighting for that.
Mr. Thanedar, I actually also want to understand from my own observation that I have interacted upon my each trip to the US, that the issues faced by the Hindu community are very diversified in nature. If somewhere it's an attack on temple, somewhere it's the temple land being encroached upon, somewhere it's the faith not being allowed, or matters of faith not being allowed in schools or institutions of college, and so far. In what way do you think, you as an individual politician, that the key challenges and issues that are faced by the Hindu American community, and how do you believe that should be attempts to address them?
I think there are some misunderstandings,
Such as?
and such as people really do not understand Hinduism enough. Hinduism is a very peaceful religion. It's a religion that is not against any other religion, but it's primarily practiced with a lot of peace. The Bhagavad Gita is a symbol of peace and knowledge and understanding. So it is a religion that is very philosophical, and sometimes it gets criticized quite unnecessarily and unfairly.
And who are these people who actually criticize this?
Well, the criticism comes from all over, and largely it happens because people don't understand. And part of the reason for this formation of the Hindu Caucus is to educate people. Now, through yoga, people understand the Indian culture and the Indian way of life.
Right.
And in the same way, people need to understand the teachings of Hinduism and why, and understand how peaceful Hindu religion is.
Right. Now, as the caucus is open to both the members of Democratic and Republican parties, how do you actually plan to foster such bipartisan collaboration and consensus on issues concerning the Hindu community? Because you admitted to a large extent that there is an opposition and the criticism is present from all quarters. So how do you find that balance between the two, that both the parties can offer that, solicit that support to you?
Well, primarily this is not a political issue. This is an issue about a person wanting to live his or her life, believing in the God and praying the God of his or her choosing, and living a life how he or she wants to live. That personal freedom to practice one's own religion is something that is a fundamental human right. That's what I believe. And that's what we should ensure we protect.
Right. Now, what are the strategies that you have in mind to raise awareness and garner support for the caucus across the United States? What more activities are you going to plan for the broader American society to bring this task into mainstream?
I think what Modi ji did in New York with the yoga was also a huge big step. And I think it's just a matter of educating Americans about the good teachings of this religion, and to showcase how
would you hold some more events, or
we would hold more events.
Such as?
There is an event happening in Washington D.C. With Sri Ravi Shankar, yeah, on art of living, and the yoga by Modi ji was also a big success.
Right.
Similar events, even just the visit by Prime Minister Modi ji and his speech to the joint session of Congress. He spoke very well, and he spoke very highly about who India is.
So, but you also are particularly going to bring more events to DC, New York, San Francisco, or where the incidents of disrespect to the Hindu community or the sacred sites of Hinduism has taken place. Are you going to bring more events of awareness?
Yes, yes, there will be a general discussion, general conversation, and through the members of Congress, because once as the members of Congress become members of the Hindu Caucus,
Right.
we'll be able to take this philosophy, ideology, and communicate about what Hindu religion actually is,
Right.
and to dispel some of the misconceptions.
Right. And I also want to ask you a very general question as well, which is that as the first time Democratic congressman representing the 13th congressional district of Michigan, what actually inspired you to enter politics? What is it that came from within you that that enough is enough of entrepreneurship? I've earned a lot of money. Now let's serve the society for this sake, or for the sake of entering and sitting on the venerated chair.
Well, look, I grew up in India in poverty. Um, I came to America with nothing.
Really?
And yeah, with $20 in my pocket. Uh, and
And when you entered politics, how much were you earning in your pocket?
a lot more. So when I came to
Can we have a
America,
ballpark figure to that?
well, I became very financially successful.
Which is why we see this beautiful home behind you.
Yeah. So coming from India, I came with nothing. America has given me so much. I was able to I got my education in chemistry. I got a PhD in chemistry. I started a small business. That business became big and created hundreds and hundreds of jobs in America. And at some point, I felt when I was successful that I achieved my American dream. But many people in America, many Americans are not able to achieve their American dream. American dream is just being able to do what you want to do for your family, being financially independent.
So what was that American dream? To earn $1 in your pocket?
To start a business, get a good education, start a business.
Which can bring livelihood to people.
Livelihood to and do better for my family. And I feel as I travel across America, I see many people, many Americans don't have access to that American dream. And the reason I gave up my business, I sold my business, took some of that money, gave it to all of my employees, and I decided to enter politics.
Correct.
Mainly to go help others achieve their
But
American
the business
dream.
also sold for quite $1 billion, and you made a fortune out of it. But what I want to ask you primarily from that question is, in that question is that you distributed that wealth among your employees. You did not concentrate it, or you did not take away the chunk of the wealth to yourself. You distributed with other people. Is that right?
Yes, because I felt that the people, my employees were my partners.
So how did it come to? How much did it come to your share and to their share?
Well, quite a bit. So they had quite a bit of money, and I did.
Roughly.
A
few billion dollars.
Yeah. But at the same time, I wanted to make sure that I reward my employees, I honor them, I respect them, and I contribute to them for their success, because this was a partnership between them and me.
Right. I want to go back, since you have talked about fulfilling the American dreams of other people, now that you have fulfilled yours, that what actually motivated you to co-sponsor the bill proposing the elimination of the country-based quota for the US green cards and the reform for H-1B visa program, and was it your own personal decision or that of the other people as well?
See,
or were
when
there any requests to you?
See, when I came to America, when I got admission in a PhD program, all I needed to do was get a F1 student visa. So I went to the American
तो
embassy.
ये कौन से साल में हुई होगी आपकी?
This was 79 में.
अगर आप हमें हिंदी में बताएं
हाँ.
तो वो कौन सा दौर था जब आप यहाँ आए 79 में?
देखिए, वो टाइम 1979 में इंडिया में बहुत से जॉब्स नहीं थे.
ठीक है.
मैंने बीएससी की थी कर्नाटक से, और मुझे पीएचडी के लिए एडमिशन मिली थी अमेरिकन यूनिवर्सिटी में.
जी.
तो सिर्फ एक ही था काम कि मैं एम्बेसी में, जो मुंबई में अमेरिकन एम्बेसी है, वहाँ जाना और F1 स्टूडेंट वीज़ा लेके आना. वो आया, वीज़ा मिला तो मैं अमेरिका जा सकता हूँ. इसीलिए मैं गया एम्बेसी में। सुबह 5 बजे लाइन में खड़ा रहना पड़ा। तो 11 बजे उन्होंने मुझे इंटरव्यू के लिए बुलाया और जब मैं गया उन्होंने बहुत सारे प्रश्न पूछे। मैंने तो मराठी मीडियम में मैंने स्टडी किया था, तो मुझे अंग्रेजी उतना नहीं आता था, बात नहीं कर सकता था वो टाइम में। और जो कुछ क्वेश्चंस पूछे मुझे, मैंने उसका जवाब दिया। लेकिन वो जो ऑफिसर थी, अमेरिकन ऑफिसर, उसका उनका नाम था वर्जीनिया, उन्होंने मेरा वीज़ा रिजेक्ट कर दिया।
ओह,
हाँ, और मैं बहुत ही परेशान हुआ था। अ, फिर नेक्स्ट टाइम मैंने और कुछ डॉक्यूमेंट्स एक्स्ट्रा दे के फिर से अप्लाई किया और सेकंड टाइम भी उन्होंने मेरा वीज़ा रिजेक्ट कर दिया। थर्ड टाइम मैंने और पेपर्स दिए और कुछ प्रूफ्स दिए। वो वर्जीनिया मैडम ने मैं थर्ड टाइम रिजेक्ट किया। फोर्थ टाइम मैंने इधर के एक प्रोफेसर है जो जहाँ मैं आके रिसर्च करने वाला था इलेक्ट्रिक बैटरीज पे, तो उन्होंने लिखा कि ये जो स्टूडेंट है बहुत स्मार्ट है, वो मेरे को
होनहार है।
चाहिए। हाँ, ये तो हम रिसर्च कर रहे हैं फ्यूचर के बारे में, तो हमें ये आदमी चाहिए हमको, ये स्टूडेंट। तो मुझे लगा कि वो लेटर देख के तो वर्जीनिया मैडम मुझे वीज़ा देंगी, लेकिन वो लेटर
लेटर
देख के भी
नहीं
उन्होंने
दी।
नहीं दिया। तो अब मेरे पास और कुछ देने के लिए कुछ नहीं था।
फिर
एक महीना हो गया, मेरा जॉब नहीं था, तो फैमिली का तकलीफ, सब प्रॉब्लम्स थे। मैं कुछ ट्यूशन्स, होम ट्यूशन्स कर रहा था।
जी।
और 5वें बार मैंने वही जो पेपर्स जो उन्होंने दिए थे, रिजेक्ट किए थे, मैं फिर से वो सबमिट किया। वो बोले 4 बजे शाम को आ जा। मैं 4 बजे गया तो उन्होंने मुझे वीज़ा दिया उसके।
और ये वही सेम वर्जीनिया मैम ने?
नहीं, मैंने पूछा क्या वर्जीनिया मैडम ने उनका माइंड चेंज किया? तो वो बोल रहे नहीं नहीं, वो अमेरिका गई है वेकेशन के लिए। तो दूसरा कोई काउंसलर ने आपके पेपर्स देखे और उनको लगा कि वो सब अच्छे हैं।
क्या बात है।
हाँ,
तो ये एक कृपा थी भगवान की जो उस समय आपको मिल गई, आपको
तो
लगता है?
देखिए ये जो हो रहा है आजकल, जो इधर जो साइंटिस्ट है, इंजीनियर्स है, डॉक्टर्स है, वो सबको ऐसा ही प्रॉब्लम्स हो रहे हैं वीज़ा के बारे में।
जी।
इसीलिए मैं तो अभी कांग्रेस में है, तो मैं उनके लिए कुछ करना चाहता हूँ।
इसलिए आप ये लाए?
हाँ, और उनके लिए जो कुछ मैंने कुछ किया और वीज़ा का प्रॉब्लम जो सॉल्व किया, तो इधर के बिजनेसेस अच्छे हो जाएंगे और पूरी अमेरिकन इकानमी और बढ़
तो
जाएगी।
कंट्री बेस्ड हटा के
हाँ,
अब हम एक मेरिट पे लाना
मेरे पे।
चाहेंगे।
और जो ये सब वीज़ा का ओपन कर दिया, तो अमेरिका में बहुत सारे जॉब्स अमेरिकन लोगों के लिए हो जाएंगे।
जी। तो
अमेरिकन
ये कब हो
बिजनेसेस बड़े
सकता है
हो।
कि आपको लगता है कि अब
ये तो दोनों पार्टी में से साथ में करके होना चाहिए।
जी।
इसके लिए टाइम लगेगा, ये जल्दी नहीं होगा, लेकिन मैं इसके ऊपर कोशिश करता रहूँगा।
थानेदार साहब, आपकी भी जो फाइट है वो एक, पहले फाइट हुई, फिर फाइट बैक हुई, फिर फाइट बैक से क्राइसिस हुआ, फिर दोबारा आप ऊपर पहुंचे। तो वो क्राइसिस ने जो आपको नीचे गिरा दिया, बड़ा नीचे गिरा दिया, मैं सुनना चाहता हूँ वो कैसे हुई, क्योंकि एक बड़ी इंस्पिरेशनल स्टोरी है। कैन यू एक्सप्लेन मी हाउ इट वाज?
हाँ जी, तो इंडिया में था, गरीब घर में था। पीएचडी करने के लिए अमेरिका आया 1979 में। वो टाइम मेरी उम्र 24 थी, 24।
राइट।
हाँ, तो इधर आया, पीएचडी की थी 3 साल में। बाद में केमिस्ट की नौकरी मिली, तो 6 साल नौकरी की। बहुत कुछ अच्छा काम किया मैंने, लेकिन वो कंपनी का अंदर का पॉलिटिक्स था कि मेरा जो काम है उसका यूज़ नहीं किया गया।
राइट।
तो मुझे लगा कि ऐसा करें, मेरी खुद की कुछ कंपनी बनाए मैं, और उधर मैं अच्छा काम करूँगा। तो ऐसा करते हुए आई मेट डॉक्टर क्लेरा क्रेवर। ये तो 65 ईयर ओल्ड अमेरिकन वुमन साइंटिस्ट थी।
कौन से शहर में?
ये जो सेंट लुइस मिजोरी
मिजोरी में
हाँ,
आप रहते
मिजोरी
थे?
में,
ठीक है,
हाँ,
फिर?
वहाँ थे। और उनके साथ मैं गया, उनका बिजनेस मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा। लेकिन क्या है, वो साइंटिस्ट बहुत अच्छी थी, लेकिन वो मार्केटिंग उनको नहीं जमता।
ठीक है।
हाँ, बहुत बड़े बड़े प्रॉब्लम्स वो सॉल्व करती थी, लेकिन लोगों को ज़्यादा पैसा चार्ज नहीं करती,
राइट।
थोड़ा कुछ चार्ज करती थी। मुझे उनका बिज़नेस बहुत अच्छा लगा, तो मैं वो बिज़नेस उनसे $75,000 को परचेस किया।
क्या बात है।
हाँ, देखिए वो बिज़नेस सिर्फ 3
फिर?
आदमी का बिज़नेस था,
राइट।
3
है।
साइंटिस्ट। हाँ, और पिछली 30 इयर्स उनकी जो एनुअल रेवेन्यू थी वो सिर्फ 150,000, यानी कि $1.5 लाख।
ठीक है।
हाँ, तो मैंने देखा कि ये जो काम करती है वो बहुत बड़ा काम है, डिफ़िकल्ट काम है, और इसकी वैल्यू जो होनी
क्या काम था
चाहिए
वो ऐसा?
वो जो प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करना।
कैसे?
कोई फार्मास्यूटिकल कंपनी है, वो कफ सिरप बनाते हैं, ये सिरप क्लियर होना चाहिए, लेकिन एक बैच जो है उन्होंने मैन्युफैक्चरिंग की है वो क्लाउडी है, तो ऐसा तो बेच नहीं सकते बाजार में, उनका बहुत नुकसान हो रहा है और उनकी कंपनी शायद बंद हो जाएगी, ये प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व नहीं किया। तो ये जब ये क्लेरा क्रेवर के साइंटिस्ट के पास आएंगे तो उनका प्रॉब्लम वो सॉल्व करके देंगी। वो बोलेगी आपका ये रॉ मटेरियल अलग अलग, हाँ, लेकिन उनको पैसा नहीं ज़्यादा चार्ज करेगी, कुछ ऐसा $200-400 चार्ज करेगी।
ठीक है।
तो मैंने देखा कि इसमें बहुत पोटेंशियल है ये बिज़नेस में, और मैंने जो लिया ये बिज़नेस और पूरा मार्केटिंग किया और सब यूएसए को बता दिया।
आफ्टर दैट व्हाट हैपेंड?
तो बिज़नेस परचेस किया, वो बढ़ गया, और साल का जो 1.5 लाख था, उससे 2008 में 650 lakhs इतना उसका रेवेन्यू बढ़ गया। वैल्यू इसका $200 मिलियन का वैल्यू हो गया।
कौन से साल में?
यही 2008 में।
और आपने एक्वायर कब किया था उसको? मैंने
एक्वायर किया 1990 में।
अच्छा, सो आफ्टर 18 years
यस
इट्स इवैल्यूएशन वेंट टू $200 million।
$200 million,
राइट।
हाँ, और सो उसमें आधा जी कंपनी थी, हाफ one company, one private equity came and they offered me $135 million.
Okay.
हाँ, उसका.
So you sold it off.
So I did not sell it. I agreed to sell it, and then the market crashed.
Oh,
so if you
this
remember,
was the year when Lehman Brothers happened.
हाँ जी.
Right.
2008-10 का समय था.
Right.
और बैंक में से मैंने लोन लिया था बिजनेस बढ़ाने के लिए.
Right.
तो बैंक इम्पेशेंट हो गई. वो लोग आए, उन्होंने मेरी कंपनी पूरी ले ली, क्योंकि उनको वो अधिकार है.
So what did you do then?
हाँ, so they took my house. I had a Rolls Royce Ferrari, brand new Rolls Royce Ferrari. The bank took that. I had a Rolls Royce Phantom. I had a Ferrari. सब कार ले लिया. I had a mansion that was like 16,000 square feet. Huge, big mansion.
Bigger than this home?
Much bigger.
जो पीछे है आपके?
हाँ, 3 times bigger than this. So bank took
3
that.
3 times bigger than what?
This house.
अच्छा.
बहुत बड़ा घर था. उसमें ऑडिटोरियम था, बहुत स्विमिंग पूल्स थे, फाउंटेन्स थे, बहुत कुछ.
वो सारे बैंक ने ले लिया.
बैंक ने ले लिया.
बैंक?
ये जो बैंक ऑफ अमेरिका नाम की बैंक है, उन्होंने सब ले लिया. तो क्या करें अभी? तो मैं 2 दिन पहले व्हेन बैंक वाज गोइंग टू टेक माय हाउस, हमने सब पर्सनल चीज़ें, क्लोथ्स एक रेंटल ट्रक में डाले और मैं 10 आवर्स ड्राइविंग करके मिशिगन में आया, यहाँ आया. हाँ, और इधर मैं नया कंपनी चालू की, फिर से कंपनी चालू की. वो कंपनी 6 साल में बहुत बढ़ गई. उसका रेवेन्यू 11-12 मिलियन हो गया. उसका वैल्यू था कुछ $35 million.
So you sold it off as well?
हाँ, वो बार मुझे.
What was the name of this company?
ये कंपनी का नाम था एवोमीन.
अच्छा. And it used to do the same thing?
Very similar thing. लेकिन मैंने थोड़ा एडजस्टमेंट किया क्योंकि रिसेशन में वो कंपनी गिर गई.
So what was the job profile of this company that you had?
This was more about pharmaceutical, but not very early stage drug development. ये तो more later stage drug development.
उसके अंदर faults और निकालना.
हाँ, और नया मेडिसिन का इन्वेंशन करना.
तो उसमें किया आपने इन्वेंशन?
बहुत इन्वेंशन किया. हार्ट का मेडिसिन, डायबिटीज़ का मेडिसिन, ये सब सर्विसेज हम देते थे, इनोवेशन सर्विसेज. तो 1920.
दिस वाज प्रोवाइडिंग कंसल्टेंसी इन टर्म्स ऑफ
कंसल्टेंसी और प्रोडक्ट बना के देना. जो छोटी स्टार्टअप कंपनीज,
अच्छा छोटी
स्टार्टअप कंपनीज होती है, उनके पास तो ऐसा इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर नहीं होता है. तो दे वांट समबडी टू डेवलप द टेक्नोलॉजी.
राइट.
सो माय कंपनी डेवलप्ड ऑल दिस टेक्नोलॉजी एंड
फॉर व्हाट ऑल मेडिसिन्स?
फॉर कार्डियोलॉजी, हार्ट मेडिसिन, डायबिटीज का मेडिसिन.
Then it took you 8 years to establish the company.
हाँ जी. तो third time I got an award, Entrepreneur of the Year award, which was very prestigious from Ernst and Young
company. भी बेच दिया?
हाँ, तो मैंने वो टाइम सोचा कि देखिए मैं अमेरिका में $20 लेके आया था, सिर्फ $20 लेके आया था. अमेरिका ने मुझे बहुत कुछ दिया. और फिर भी मैं जब ट्रैवल करता हूँ अमेरिका में तो देखता हूँ कि अमेरिका में 20% लोग पॉवर्टी लाइन के नीचे हैं. 20% ऑफ लोग, उनको घर का किराया देना या मॉर्गेज पेमेंट करना, पानी का बिल देना, ये दे नहीं सकते. तो मुझे ऐसे लगा कि इस देश ने मुझे इतना कुछ दिया है, I have achieved my American dream, but I need to help these people achieve their American dream.
Brilliant.
और इसीलिए मैंने वो बिजनेस छोड़ दिया, बेच दिया, उसमें से जो पैसा आया थोड़ा पैसा उसमें से सब एम्प्लॉयज़ को बांट दिया।
तो अब याद आता है कि रोल्स रॉयस भी चली गई,
रोल्स रॉयस चली गई, फरारी
चली गई, इतना बड़ा 16,000 स्क्वायर फीट का
हाँ
घर चला गया।
चला गया। लेकिन फिर से
तो
मैंने
गाड़ियाँ आपको फिर बैंक ने जब्त करी या कैसे करी?
जब्त कर दी, उन्होंने ले गए और बाद में मैंने फिर से बिजनेस चालू किया, फिर सब अच्छा हो रहा था और आई कुड हैव जस्ट केप्ट ओनिंग द बिजनेस एंड इट वुड हैव।
But this time you did not buy a Ferrari?
This time I also bought another Ferrari.
Really?
After I bought the new business. The business was successful. I bought a newer house. But now I was not enjoying the big mansion anymore. I was not enjoying those expensive cars. Because ये सब मैंने एक बार किया है।
तो वो भी आपने बेच दिया दूसरी बारी?
हाँ, दूसरी बार। और मैंने सोचा कि लोगों के लिए कुछ करें। और इसीलिए मैं डिसाइड किया कि मैं अमेरिका का मिशिगन जो ये राज्य है इसका गवर्नर यानी कि चीफ मिनिस्टर उसकी इलेक्शन में आई वुड रन। मैं जीता नहीं, फिर भी मुझे वांटेड टू स्टे इन पब्लिक सर्विस, इसीलिए मैं एमएलए की इलेक्शन जीत गया मिशिगन में। 2 बरस में मैंने इतना कुछ काम किया ये एरिया में। 5 स्कूल्स नया बिल्ड किया
यहीं डिट्रॉइट में। What a fabulous journey.
हाँ, और मेंटल हॉस्पिटल बनाया। देखिए मेंटल हॉस्पिटल का जो है, मेरी पहली जो पत्नी थी उसका नाम श्यामा, मेरे बच्चे 4 और 8 साल के 2 बच्चे, और उन्होंने सुसाइड करके उनका डेथ हो गया। और वो टाइम मुझे 2 लड़के को मेरा बिजनेस चल रहा था वो टाइम, आई वाज रनिंग द बिजनेस।
So there were a lot of Indian friends around you?
I had a lot of Indian friends, but they all left.
Oh, they all
because
left.
once this tragedy happened, they just blamed me, and when I needed the friends the most, when my time was so difficult, they left me. So I have to deal with my sorrow.
Yes.
I have to raise my children.
Oh, so you went through multiple crises.
Yes.
To fight and stage your fight backs.
And I have to take care of my children. At the same time, all the friends were gone. I had no friends to rely on, ask for help, so in that time, 3 years, I worked on the business. I worked helping my children recover from that trauma because they were very young, 4 and 8 years old. So in 3 years, they got a little bit settled. And then fortunately, I met a wonderful woman, Shashi, in Mumbai. And we got married in.
तो उनसे कैसे मुलाकात हुई?
I see कुछ न्यूज़पेपर टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया में हमने एक जाहिरात एडवर्टाइजमेंट दी थी। वो टाइम तो इंटरनेट ऐसा कुछ नहीं था।
फिर
और इंडिया में किसी से शादी करनी है तो यहाँ मैं रहता था अमेरिका में, तो टाइम्स ऑफ इंडिया में छोटी सी एडवर्टाइजमेंट दी कि ऐसा मेरे 2 बच्चे हैं, वाइफ का डेथ हुआ है और मुझे कोई अच्छी वाइफ चाहिए जो हमारे घर इधर आके सब
और ये कहाँ पे थी?
शशि मुंबई में थी, वो भी ऐसा पुअर फैमिली में थी, 2 नौकरियां करती थी फाइनेंस में, और उसका पति भी शी हैड लॉस्ट हर हस्बैंड अराउंड द सेम टाइम एज आई हैड लॉस्ट माय वाइफ।
अच्छा।
हाँ, तो हम दोनों मुंबई में मिले और 3 साल के बाद हमने शादी की।
अरे।
और शशि जी यहाँ आई, उसने सब घर फिर से अच्छा बनाया।
तो अब ये बताइए कि अब आपके पास में फिर क्या है, क्या प्रॉपर्टीज हैं? एक तो ये घर है जो आपके पीछे है,
हाँ,
और आप कांग्रेसमैन बन गए हैं।
हाँ।
Then?
तो मेरा जो बिजनेस की जो प्रॉपर्टीज थी, बिल्डिंग्स था, वो मैंने रखा है अभी तक।
अच्छा, कौन कौन सी?
अभी 2, एक अनारबर में एक बड़ी बिल्डिंग है जो एवोमीन थी वहाँ।
अच्छा, जो आपकी सेकंड फर्म बनी,
हाँ,
वो उसकी बिल्डिंग आपने रख ली?
बिल्डिंग अब मैंने रखी
फर्म
है।
अभी भी चलती है?
बहुत अच्छी चलती है, उनके 100 से ज़्यादा एम्प्लॉयज़ हैं।
क्या बात है।
हाँ, और तो मैंने ऐसे सोचा कि मैं पब्लिक सर्विस में जाऊँ तो लोगों के लिए कुछ कर सकूँ।
बड़ी खूबसूरत बात है।
और
तो आपको बड़ी उदासी होती है सोच के कि मैं कहाँ से बेलगाम से आया, एक जेनिटर था साफ़ करने वाला, और मैं रोल्स रॉयस और फरारी लेके भी दौड़ा, गाड़ियाँ लेके भी यूएसए में, फिर वो जब्त हो गई, फिर वो दोबारा आपने खरीदी फरारी। रोल्स रॉयस नहीं खरीदी?
रोल्स नहीं खरीदी,
फरारी खरीदी।
हाँ।
अब फरारी बेच दी है फिर?
हाँ, फरारी बेच दी अभी।
तो वो क्यों बेची?
अभी मन नहीं लगता, क्योंकि ये सब किया है एक बार।
पर पैसा तो आपके पास में बहुत है।
बहुत है, लेकिन आजकल जो मुझे खुशी की बात ये है, और लोगों को मदद करने की। तो मैं लोगों के लिए बहुत कुछ करता हूँ यहाँ। देखिए ये जो मेरी डिट्रॉइट की मतदार संघ है, इधर 25% लोग अंडर पावर्टी है।
Right.
तो उनके लिए बहुत कुछ करना, उनके
So,
लिए अच्छा स्कूलिंग होना।
Am I right that as a congressman,
हाँ जी।
now that you are also eligible, just like a Lok Sabha MP or a Rajya Sabha back in India,
हाँ जी।
you're eligible for a government pay of $1,78,000 US per month, per year,
हाँ जी।
which translates into somewhere around $15,000-16,000 a month.
हाँ
Plus,
जी।
of course, your transportation and conveyance allowance as well. Is that right?
यस यस।
So that gives you a feeling of belongingness to the United
या
States.
बट लेकिन ये भी है कि मेरे इलाके के लिए मैं गवर्नमेंट से डॉलर्स इधर ला सकता हूँ। तो
अच्छा।
अभी तक जस्ट 6 महीने में आई हैव रिक्वेस्टेड $70 मिलियन।
तो कितने आ गए?
तो सब आएंगे। 1.7 बिलियन डॉलर्स इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर के लिए लाया है, क्योंकि ये रोड्स अच्छा करना, वाटर सिस्टम बहुत इधर लेड लाइंस है वाटर के, वो रिप्लेस करने के लिए। सो मैंने जस्ट 6 साल में बहुत कुछ पैसा मेरे डिस्ट्रिक्ट में लाया है, इधर के इन्वेस्टमेंट करना, स्कूल्स बने, मेंटल हॉस्पिटल बने। बिकॉज माई वाइफ डाइड बिकॉज ऑफ मेंटल हेल्थ, आई फील वेरी
attached
close to mental
this
health, and
disease.
I feel that people need to get the best mental health care.
Correct.
You know.
Mr. Thanedar, I'm also going to bring you the spotlight on something which has become contentious and yet also controversial, the recent Supreme Court ruling and the order on the affirmative action. Because it impacts both the Asian communities and also the Afro-American communities as well. How do you look at the impact of this in this country?
Well, you know, education should be accessible to all. And because of the systemic racism, many African Americans have not gotten access to good education. And I do believe that we need to make this a level playing field. And representing a district that is 60% African American, I do believe that equal access to those who have previously been denied these opportunities is important.
Right, but then that also means that even the Asian communities were marginalized to a large extent. Now that they are going to get benefits, do you think that their interests should also be taken care of?
Yes, I think we need to have a fair system for all of the communities.
Right.
At the same time, we want to ensure that African Americans have suffered the most.
Right.
And they need to be protected, and they need to be given access to good education.
On that note, I actually also want to tell you the fact is that people in India are very also curious to know the gentleman in your back and also the lady at your back who played a pivotal role in your success when your entry into the politics was being made. I believe and I reckon that's your son and that's your wife as well.
Yes.
Can we have them as well on this show? And why don't you introduce these people as well and help the viewers back home in India know about who they are and how they contributed to your success?
Well, you know, Shashi is somebody that I have a lot of respect for.
जी.
My wife Shashi, you know, she not only raised 2 great sons with me.
तो शशि जी कहाँ से आती हैं?
बम्बई से।
अरे बम्बई से?
Yeah.
तो आप भी IIT पवई? क्या खूबसूरत बात है। तो मतलब मुझे तो लगता है कि जितने यहाँ के जो जेम्स हैं, हीरे हैं, वो ज़्यादातर IIT से या IIM से या ऐसे इंजीनियर्स ही हैं। तो आपको मुझे लगता है बड़ा फ़ख्र भी महसूस होता होगा खुद पे भी और थानेदार साहब पे भी कि जो उन्होंने मकाम हासिल किया आज, जिस घर के सामने मैं खड़ा हूँ आज डिट्रॉइट में, हमने नहीं कभी सोचा था कि बेलगाम से एक आदमी उठ के अपने माँ बाप का भी कर्जा चुकाएगा, उस एजुकेशन का भी, और आप लोगों को भी यहाँ पे एक दर्जा देगा। तो कितना आज आपको फ़ख्र महसूस होता है?
बहुत ही होता है। जब बिजनेस छोटे साइज़ में था तब भी बहुत गर्व था, और बच्चे भी हमारे दोनों भी बहुत स्मार्ट हैं सारे। बड़े को तो इनकी पूरी क्वालिटी सब है
जी।
और 2 नाती भी हैं उनके साथ में, और बड़ा वाला भी न्यूयॉर्क में है
जी।
सो ही इज़ वर्किंग फॉर AI। सो
ओह, दैट्स अमेजिंग। आपको मुबारकबाद भी दूंगा, लेकिन एक क्यूरोसिटी में सवाल भी पूछूंगा कि बिलीव नहीं होता कि आप ग्रैंडफादर और ग्रैंडमदर बन गए हैं। मुझे तो देख के लगता नहीं थानेदार साहब कि आप ग्रैंडफादर भी बन गए हैं, आप दादा भी बन गए हैं और आप ग्रैंडमदर भी बन गई, दादी भी बन गई हैं।
देखिए ना अभी आपने दोनों बच्चों को,
जी।
दैट इज आवर एनर्जी।
Excellent. So you're a father to a young kid, right?
Yes,
Of course, your father mentioned to me in one of the casual conversations that you played an instrumental role in shaping up his career in politics in this country. How crucial that was if you were with him by his side, shoulder to shoulder, working with him and ensuring, and what was that single contribution that drifted the victory towards him?
we would work every day on the different strategies,
Such as?
the marketing, the TV advertisements, the daily communications, the social media, but also just the strategy on the ups and downs every day. There's an individual personal battle in politics, and it's very difficult. And so us being able to talk every day and have that personal connection, that kind of 1 hour or 2 hours every day can really help the candidate feel stronger and kind of be more motivated on each strategy.
Right. अगर मैं बात करूं कि if I talk about the personal achievements of your husband, of course that remains the fact that he set up 2 companies, sold them off, settled into such a big mansion today in Detroit, which not many Indians can dream of. Which is the one that is closest to you? His entry into politics, the victory, his selling of the 2 firms, or the fact that he married you?
Actually, he's hardworking, always positive thinking, and never give up. That is the biggest issues. And then it comes with little bit of package of me, my kids, and his knowledge.
As we bring the last leg of this interview, I'm sure this is going to be more exciting than what it has been before. So we're going to put Mr. Thanedar to a test on his ability to answer the rapid fire questions. Mr. Thanedar, samosa or pakoda on a cloudy day?
Onion pakoda.
Lovely. The biggest highlight of your career? You're addressing the US Congress in 2016 or escorting Prime Minister to the joint session?
Escorting Prime Minister to the joint session.
Ganesh Chaturthi in Bombay or Thanksgiving in the US?
Thanksgiving in the US.
Public school education in India or in the US?
In the US.
If you were to choose a state that would you want to contest elections in India, would it be south or north of India?
South.
Okay. Vedic prayers or Kabir bhajans? What's your preferred morning ritual?
Vedic prayers.
Who is a worthy opponent to Prime Minister Modi in next decade or so? Arvind Kejriwal or Rahul Gandhi?
Rahul Gandhi.
Okay. So that's about it. I think it was one of the most exciting conversations that we have had on India Abroad, the news show where we bring the feisty tales of young and old Indians who have made proud and also continue to bring laurels for the country where they're based out of and the country like India from where they come from. That's about it from me, Rohan Dua, on this show. Thank you so much, Mr. Thanedar. It's been actually a privilege